What's up, guys? So, this time around, I want to discuss something that is interesting in so many ways to me. So, let me just give you the whole story. So, last night, I was talking to someone, and in the middle of our conversation, this person had the idea suggested to me of what would my contingency plan be in the event of a nuclear fallout. And I said, first of all, you need to understand that nuclear anything, nuclear war, nuclear attacks, nuclear explosions, any of that are literally my biggest nightmare. And it is because I understand just how big of a damage that stuff implicates, both environmentally and emotionally for those of us who make it. And it's just incredibly frightening because some of this stuff has happened by accident. Like when you have a nuclear reactor explode or something, that Chernobyl story. And we have the stuff that happened in Japan in the 40s, um, August 6, 1946, was it? So, you know, um, we have all these moments in history to remind us of the devastating effects of nuclear war and nuclear explosions and the effects of nuclear stuff, period. So, what would my plan be on something that cannot, be predicted or anything? To tell you the truth, and I hate that I'm saying this, but I don't have a plan because it's something that I don't like to think about. And I should be thinking about it because I don't know if you guys heard about this became relevant because a place in the planet was affected by this. Fortunately, it was a false alarm. Like someone just accidentally said, they sent that message of incoming missile, take shelter. So it was a false alarm. But this could happen. We have the struggle between North Korea and the US. So I wish that I could look at it as this is just something in the history books, or this is something that only happens in movies or games. But I hate that I don't think about it because I'm like, the reason these games exist and these movies exist is because it has happened in history. So I should have a plan. I should be worried. But so I guess to answer the question, my plan would be I would be too scared, really. Um, when you're in a stressful situation, when you're scared like that, um, you don't think as clearly. That's why drills are important because drills at least give you an experience before the actual emergency happens. So you are more likely to make better decisions when you can anticipate this. But I guess, assuming that I'm surviving the blast and everything, um, geez, I'm blank. I don't know what to say because I've never thought about this. And I don't even know what the best shelter would be because a nuclear blast could really obliterate everything. So even if the blast were to land somewhere really far from me, um, there's the fallout, which you won't be able to escape from because you're going to be breathing that, or it'll just blow on you, on your face, on your skin, or end up in your water, in your food sources. So, is there even a point to having a plan when ultimately you will feel the effects? Maybe that's the reason I haven't thought about this, and maybe that's the reason I haven't I don't have a plan because I'm assuming that the moment this happens, the moment this goes down, that's going to be the end. And I guess that's what makes this particularly dangerous, this matter particularly dangerous, because that's not true. It is possible to survive this. And so far in history, more people have survived it than not, you know? But then again, we've only really had two major episodes. So, you know, but I guess that's a really good discussion to have, given how serious stuff is on a political matter. Um, yeah, I guess I should really take that a little more seriously and not so lightly. And not assume that everything is just gonna be over, you know? So, yeah, guys, I'm sorry that I'm not really giving the best answer to the question, but that's also my favorite part about filming this. You guys get to see my real side, which is I'm ignorant about this and I recognize it, but at least I think this is the step in the right direction, recognizing that I have this weakness and then addressing it ASAP. Let me make it easy for everyone. If bombs went off, you have about 30 minutes to be ready. 30 minutes, that's crazy. Assuming you survive the immediate aftermath of the explosion. After those 30 minutes, the radiation settles and it becomes unsafe to be outside, even inside, unless you're in a lead lined bunker. Basically, my plan is to hijack someone else's plan. For a person that was overseas and got used to bomb alarms going off every day, I don't think no one has a plan. I would take the back roads and not the highway. That's a good point. But at the same time, where would people be running to? What is a shelter? How do I even identify a place as a shelter? Because I know hospitals are gonna be flooded, um, and all that. So, see, the thing of it is that I think during a disaster, what tends to kill people more is their reaction to the problem. Because I remember you guys know that I'm fascinated about reading about plane crashes and everything. So I remember particular ones where, okay, you survived the plane crash and the plane doesn't explode immediately, but then people just go nuts, understandably, because you're scared and nervous and, your flight fight response and stuff. So you're just not acting with the little bit of like um what is it, reason that you have, like being a rational creature. That little bit is just completely gone. So a lot of people die because they don't get out on time. So you end up breathing those harmful fumes and everything, that smoke. Um, and this could be better if people just kept their heads cool and went out for the emergency and didn't block it, nor decided to go back for their stuff. So, how would people react to this emergency? Like, what kind of decision by one individual would make it dangerous for the people around them? Like, say, if if you had the nuclear blast and then you started, running toward the highway or something, or filling up buses if you don't drive or have your own vehicle, you're going to overload these buses dangerously to where no one else can get in because you are bringing a lot of shit with you when you should just bring yourself and maybe a gallon of water if you have time or if it's handy. But instead, you're trying to bring a lot of other goods with you, other bags, and when you're bringing that extra luggage, someone could have used that spot that your stuff is taken up, but you were only thinking about yourself. So, so I think I will be better at answering this question if I can anticipate that. Like, what kind of crazy behaviors are people going to display during the emergency? And I got it. Like Black Friday. I never shop on Black Friday because I know that terrible things can happen. People just don't know how to drive anymore. People are in a hurry, etc. So I can predict that's how people behave during Black Friday. So how can I predict how people will behave during a nuclear fallout, nuclear blast type of deal, you know? Let's see. It would be best to get away from major cities, military bases and airports. Here in TN, Oak Ridge was the birth of the atomic bomb. Yeah, I don't think the world is ready because trying to shoot the bomb down is really hard. Yeah, that too. That's so scary because people say, okay, if a missile gets launched, we can intercept it. And I'm like, yeah, how many times has that been successful again? And also, there's just not a lot of time. That's what worries me because um, ideally, when you can anticipate something, you know, when you have time on your side, you get better results. But no one is thinking about, I'm going to wake up today and I am going to be avoiding a missile. I'm going to be avoiding fallout. And see, that's what makes this dangerous. That's why I think drills are important. If you practice something beforehand, when something happens, you increase your odds of surviving by making better choices. But when you're someone who's extremely clueless and just trying to find out stuff as it goes down, your chances diminish, you know? So, yeah, that's a very good point that you guys just brought this up for me. If you don't shoot it off during the first 15 minutes from leaving the ground, we are screwed. I hear people calling Hawaii is dumb for doing these drills. No, see, that's the thing. Even when I was in school, people hated fire drills. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a fire drill today, so make sure that you leave everything behind and that you line up and follow your teachers and da da da. And I always took them super seriously because I'm thinking, in case of emergency, having practiced this is going to increase the chances that I'm going to be safe and everybody is going to survive. But most people looked at it as a waste of time and they would take the time to go to their lockers and get stuff out. And, you know, I'm like, just don't. People like you are what's wrong with society, you know? Um, but I wish that we had drills like that, like get the community together on separate dates a couple of times out of the year in case you can't make it to the first one or two. And let's talk about this and let's practice this because yeah, when 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 you're trying to figure stuff out in the middle of a panic, you just you can't make it. And that's when regret comes about. Oh yeah, I should have done this. I should have done that. Da 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 da. I think my long-term plan is to become Prime Minister of the UK and actually use the nuclear budget to develop a new thing to render nuclear weapons useless. Wow, Ollie, that's quite ambitious. You get 'em. The biggest issue is it will travel in space and track it. We have to shoot it down in space. If not, we have about 4 minutes to shoot it down from space. See, shooting it down from space, wouldn't that make it spread over a more vast area? Or maybe I'm not thinking about this logically. Because I'm thinking the higher you blow it up, the more chances it has to scatter its junk throughout a greater surface, you know, because it's at a greater height. So, I don't know. You're the expert. Help me, educate me. There are rules that you can only have so many live bombs and some can be duds. What if we did happen to shoot down the bomb? The issue is one major bomb might have 10 warheads, and who knows, 3 might be duds. I work with military satellites in space. Actually, yeah, it could spread out. Um, okay. So, yeah, and that's what makes this thing even scary because we don't completely understand stuff like that unless you work with that. Like you, Dimitri, you can express that and figure that out because you had the exposure. For me, I was clueless. I thought that all everything bad in life is inside that missile, like the entirety of the missile, even the encasing around it or whatever, you know, is everything about it is toxic. But some stuff may not even blow up, you know. That's what dots are, like imitation bombs. So yeah, it's crazy, man. It's I hate that I'm sitting here and I really don't know what else to say or how to keep the show running, but that just lets you know that I'm pretty sure that the same way that I'm expressing myself is the same way that my mom is going to express herself. She's not going to have any idea. Um, and I'm pretty sure that if I brought this up to my colleagues, they would have no idea either. Maybe one or two who had military experience, but dang. I would just drive and get a map. GPS could be shut down. Exactly. Like, I don't have a paper map anywhere. I used to have one in my car, but I think my mom took it to her car because originally it was hers. But that's stuff that we're not thinking about. We have been transitioning to more convenient stuff to where we're forgetting basic skills that people could use without, say, electricity, without being plugged into something, without being warm, or so we would have to go back to basics immediately, and we're just not prepared for that. I know I'm not. So I wasn't even considering that. Like, reception can be knocked out so easily. Like, some wind blowing on the wrong branch and that branch landing on a little something, and boom, my connections are gone, my electricity is gone. But yeah, during, this thing is really going to disrupt a lot of things in the environment and communication and everything. So I didn't even consider that. Like, this emergency may take place when, say, my mom and I aren't apart from each other. So I usually just rely on the fact that I can call her up when something comes up. But in a situation like that, you know, and even if the lines were working, they could be extremely busy and, experiencing interruptions and all that. Yeah, that, I think if people survive, if more people survive, I think what's going to get more people killed is when you start not acting rationally, you know? Um, like the stress and your poor decision making, and your acts out of desperation. Like, say, there is a last gallon of water on some surviving shelf of some sort, and you're trampling people to get to it, because it's a live or die situation. So yeah, this is some scary stuff. I'm glad we're having this discussion because it helps me to just consider. I already know this is serious and this is not a game and this is terrible and dangerous, but when we take the topic and pull it apart like that, like, you begin to realize that there's even more scary stuff lurking beneath everything else. So yeah, trust me. I'm glad that I don't have to work tomorrow because I'm done. I lost my sleep. I'm going to be thinking about this and how I'm allowing myself to be so ignorant. And now I just want to address it and not really depress myself with this possibility and, life being scary and all that. But it's important to know this. So, so yeah, I just want to have like a moment of silence and be like just staring into the distance and be like, dang, I've been spending my energy getting educated on the wrong stuff and I don't know how to respond during an emergency. Another thing is if I see someone having like a heart attack or something in front of me, I don't know what to do. I want to help. Maybe I can help, but I wouldn't know what to do. So I don't want to find myself in that situation when a nuclear fallout takes place. So, um, Let's see. So phones would be worthless. Better learn to read a map. I keep a map with me. I sort of know how to read a map. Like I understand when something is a mountain, when something is, like those little weird symbols. I made sure that I learned everything, but it's been a long time since I got my hands on a map and actually dissected it. Also, I've never used a map to drive somewhere. So, one thing is when you're sitting down with something and you have that time to read it and analyze it versus when you're on the fly multitasking, and yeah, I just don't want to find myself in that situation. um, Most people can't even start a fire. I can with a knife and a few extra parts. People don't know how to purify water or do anything to survive. Yeah, we would be screwed on many levels. The fallout is what's going to get people. Oh no, making you panic. See, that's the thing. It's not you survive this thing and boom, you can go about your life as usual. Your environment as you know it, it's going to change. And see, for me, what I consider most terrifying is the impact on the environment, and it's because um, even if you were to survive unscathed, you cannot trust what you're going to eat, what you're going to drink, what you're touching, and like cancer rates are going to completely skyrocket. Because I remember reading about the people in Japan who survived their nuclear blasts. And I'm like, okay, these people survived, but they ended up having health consequences for the rest of their lives. Some people were able to live for a long time, but some people really got effed up badly with like just permanent damage to their body. And, so shoot, I don't want to sound like messed up or anything, but if it's gonna happen, I just want for it to happen quickly and to just wipe me out. Like I don't care to survive that stuff because no matter what, you will lose one way or the other. So I don't think there's a way that you can possibly have a happy ending with this situation. It's the damage is just it's it's just too great, too unbearable. Let's see. Um, I can make my own electricity and radio. Taking first aid classes is good. Don't feel too bad for not knowing there are people whose job it is to know. You're not one of them. Fact is, there's very little we can do anyway, so I don't blame you for not thinking about it. Well, you're right. That does make me feel like a whole lot better. But at the same time, I feel like we should at least try. And what makes me feel bad is that I'm not trying. Um, so that's on the preventative level, of course. I took combat lifesaver classes. I know how to stop most major bleeding. For example, if you lost your leg or arm, I could help you. I actually know how to fix a collapsed lung. Assuming prevention failed, we should all definitely have more of these skills. Puts tinfoil hat. There are people that eat detergent. There would not be a high survival rate. Oh my, Ollie, I'm so glad that you mentioned that because earlier I was thinking about, holy crap. I loved something that someone tweeted and I retweeted, which is I live in an age where we gotta tell people to not eat detergents. Um, well, on the plus side, I guess I would live a little longer because I feel like I have a sense of what I should eat and not be eating. So, look at Fukushima nuclear disaster. I have read some about it. They say it's supposed to take over 40 years to clean it up. And see, even if you were to clean it up, can you truly, truly, truly clean all of that up? Because some stuff is going to be ingested by animals, which is going to be ingested by another animal, and that animal is going to then be ingested by another animal, and then the plants, which, aquatic ones or whatever, they're going to absorb something, and then someone is going to eat that plant, and then that plant is going to be eaten, or then that creature that ate that plant is going to be eaten by another creature, and then the air can spread things so far away, and then the things where the air blew that, they may carry it to places that had absolutely nothing to do with the surrounding area that was affected. But especially this day and age, we as humans, we can transport ourselves so far and everything. That's how disease has spread, to places where it didn't exist. So, so something that gets dumped in the ocean, can you truly, 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 truly like clean that up? Because it's going to start sinking, or a stream, a current is going to carry it further, and everything else. So yeah, nuclear needs to be banned for real. Yeah, this is the thing that we we probably don't think about this and preventative measures and everything, because we read about this from the history point of view. Like, when I was in school, I would go over the generic details of the Japan stuff, but we think of it as, oh, this happened in the 40s. This is not a today problem. But people don't realize that warheads and junk, they're still out there. I guess their proliferation has decreased. Like, some of it has been, um, they've gotten rid of some stuff, but what's to keep some people from secretly working on it, and they don't spread the word about it? And what if their numbers are still proliferating, but to not worry the public, nobody is talking about it? And the stuff today about Hawaii, I understand that drills are important, but why would you write along with that message, this is not a drill? It's like somehow, somewhere, something had to provoke you to be thinking about that drill. So, what if weird things have been happening, but the public just hasn't found out about it? Like, like I was telling my boyfriend, let's say that the crazy weather that I had yesterday, which was incredibly warm, and then today, all of a sudden, it's back to below zero. Like, what if something did happen out there? Something blew up in the air, and nobody was told anything. Like, this didn't leak to the public. And that's why we're able to keep going about our day in such a relaxed, normal fashion, because we just thought about, oh, yeah, this is the weather nowadays. It does crazy things. I wouldn't worry about it. But there has to be a cause for something as unpredictable as that. Like, how do you randomly get really, really warm weather in the middle of the coldest month of the year? For us in the northern hemisphere. It's fun to speculate. But yeah, this type of thing just gets my mind rolling and racing in all kinds of directions that I just, yeah, I don't even know what to say sometimes. Like, I have a lot in my mind, but I want for this to make sense and not just say nonsense. The military does change the weather. Isn't that through a thing called HARP with two A's or something, where they do something with, like, is it ions or some junk? Like, they just shoot some junk up in the sky, and somehow I don't know. I'm gonna shut up. But I did hear about the Project HARP or whatever. This thing that supposedly can even alter people's mood. They can make you go from happy to sad, from sad to happy. Yeah, some crazy stuff. I'm not sure. Yeah, nah, I don't play with demons. so let's not mention it. But you see, I just think it's weird if it's something out there in nature that you cannot really link to nature. It's like it has to be man-made. So, anyways, I don't think it's necessarily nuclear itself that needs to go, but using it to make weapons was a categorically stupid idea. Nuclear fusion, on the other hand, is a renewable energy. I think. Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right. So you see, that's the interesting thing about this. For every positive, there is a negative. So nuclear stuff, it is very useful. Like I enjoy my life a lot because of the stuff that it has supplied me with. But at the same time, it has this destructive power and force that if it gets into the hands of reckless people, the the consequences are just too astronomical, and I don't think no individual should have that much power. You know what I mean? Um, I think a lot of people are afraid of the word nuclear, and for good reason, but if it wasn't useful, it wouldn't exist. The issue with nuclear is a waste product. Yeah, there's no real way to dispose of it. Yes, Ollie, that totally sounds like Metal Gear right there. And that's something that I liked about Metal Gear. The little bit about this stuff that I know is because Metal Gear provoked me to research it. You know, because of course they present some of it in a fictional way, but then if you take it a step further, it's like subliminally you are being told of things. So yeah, I remember one of the codec conversations with Nastasha Romanenko in MGS1. Yeah, that lady was the one who got my interest on researching a little bit about nuclear war and junk. So that's interesting. Kojima's a genius. Kojima save us. Nuclear fusion is a great way. It's great. We definitely need that for space travel. Natasha knew her shit. Yeah, she was a strong woman. Nuclear fusion is great. We definitely need that for space travel. Are rockets propelled by nuclear energy? I don't know. I should know because I studied the Challenger disaster inside and out, but clearly I forgot already. but but yeah, really, if there is a weapon that is going to do harm on a grand scale to where a big number of like civilians get affected, then I think you're doing war wrong. Like, because I'm not saying that only soldiers should suffer the consequences of war. I don't think anybody should suffer the consequences of war. But it's like when you have the potential to do a lot of damage that's beyond reparable, come on, that stuff should it should not even be a question. It should never be used. But then again, people's agendas are just different. Like for the people in power, they just don't think that way. No, it's liquid fuel. Right. No rockets are fueled by jet fuel. Hey, Rogue. Um, but yeah, see, it's like I think we all should be able to get together to make decisions like this. And it should not just be limited to politicians. Because let me tell you, like the people in power currently, it seems like they just act out of emotion and out of their personal ambitions. And it's like, no, someone needs to be able to put a stop to you because you have the ability to affect so many people. That should not even be a thing, it's crazy. And then this nuclear stuff, that's what it makes me think of. I feel like collectively we are not having as much impact as we should be, you know? Like, it seems like it's only a few people in some office that are making these types of decisions. Um, and I guess in our case, the president, he has his advisors and everything, but that's not stopping him from saying stupid stuff over social networks that may provoke someone else, you know? Because, I mean, I guess it's a positive that once again has a negative. It's a positive because by him posting and writing like that, it shows a certain degree of transparency. But at the same time, it's negative because it can be interpreted wrongly, and then bad things can happen as a result of that. See what I mean? So, like I said, topics like this, they can really prolong and extend because it can go in so many different directions. Like, you got to consider A with B, and then A and B create C, D, and E, and everything. It's just a big mess. Maybe that's why I get discouraged with some topics quickly, and I don't tend to research it inside and out like I should as a responsible and caring adult. But it's just, I get obsessed with that because it's like I only have time for so much, and I don't have time to study all about something. So, because at some point something else is going to get my attention and intrigue me. So, I wish that I was good at researching because I feel like I know just a little bit about everything, but I cannot truly define a whole concept to you in one sitting. It's like, nah, I need time. Nah, give me time. Nah, let me look. Nah, let me read. Nah, let me ask so and so, or so so yeah, that's why I love streaming. That's why I need to make videos like this because it helps me like focus on one topic. And now that we did this nuclear discussion, I am going to fall through a really deep dark hole, and the thing that I'm going to focus on the most, that is going to f me up for many nights to come, is going to be the consequences of it. Like, I guess I should be working on ways to prepare for this and ways to avoid this and whatnot. But I'm like, nah, hell nah. This is going to happen, and this is how it's going to happen, and what the consequences are going to be. I guess if I become fearful of the consequences, that is what makes me prioritize this matter, you know? So so yeah. Thanks you guys for making me um less likely to get a full night's sleep. This is why science is very important, because I bet someone will press the button sooner or later. I hope that it's later. You're doing a good job, so we all can talk about it. That Cheeto does cover the scrotum isn't anything approaching transparent. Apart from his obvious incompetence, of course, the Twitter stuff is meant to distract you from other stuff he's doing. See, Ollie, that is exactly the sad part. Because I want to look at it as, yeah, this Cheeto head is being transparent. But how can I possibly trust someone who uses this social network as a medium of official communication when you're supposed to be the guy running the country? You're responsible for all of us. You are representing us everywhere. So, if only he would express himself more professionally, but also in a more um, appropriate medium, then okay, I would consider it transparent. But his priorities are not straight because he's not a politician. He is not fit to be president. Um, this guy has been an entertainer all his life, and everything that he has earned has not really been from him working hard. He just inherited it, and he was able to invest because he had investing money, and this guy was just set for life. So look at it this way. Oh, Dimitri, please feed me knowledge. feed me your wisdom. It's just, I love when someone says, look at it this way. Because I'm like, oh, I'm getting ready to be overwhelmed or roasted or fried. So, yeah, come at me, bro. But, but yeah, Ollie, you're right. You're right. It's a massive distraction, and it's terrible that at a time like this we have someone so incompetent running the show. Um, but like I said, in an ideal world, um, that would be him being transparent. But nah, it's just he's not even coherent. So that's how I know that that's not the intention. You say he doesn't say things appropriate, but would you want him to lie? Well, I guess how can I say this? I just wish that he expressed himself in a way that I could just trust him. So it's great that I guess it's great that he's not lying, but at the same time, don't treat this like a game. Like this is serious stuff, stuff that affects millions of people. So I would hope that you don't just dismiss it as this is something for you to put on your resume or something. You know what I mean? Um, the former politicians lie to make us feel comfortable. He does lie, just not about how much of a loose cannon he is. Do you want the herd to be comfortable or not? What if I told you you can pick route A or B, but either way, you are still going to the butcher shop? I'd rather leave the herd. We must think deeply. I feel like I missed a comment. Oh, okay. The former politicians lie to make us feel comfortable. I had a minute to just think to myself. I'm like, well, at the same time, y- you may be the president, but it doesn't mean that your decisions are ultimately the ones that control everything. Because it has to be approved by so and so. Go to the House, go to the Senate. So the checks and balances. It's cool that they exist because they keep one particular branch from having too much power. But at the same time, if one side is corrupted, was to keep the other sides from being corrupted. If it's any consolation, the president can actually just launch a nuke whenever he feels like it. Oh, thank goodness, because I have zero doubt that he would have done it already. Um, yeah, yeah. Especially with his arrogance and ego and all that. We seek comfort in the food we eat, but we shouldn't buy any puppets. I agree because his authoritarian stance is not okay. The launch codes, I think, send a signal to a submarine issuing an order for someone else to do it, and they have the right to refuse the president's order if they think he's compromised in any way. It's cool that power is distributed like that because, like I said, it goes back to me saying something of that magnitude and just one person having the full jurisdiction of it. Yeah, no, no. Um, you guys ever heard of Stanislav Petrov? I'm sure I killed his name, but he was this Russian guy who, back in his day, sometime in the 80s, I think it was 1984, he is called the man who saved the world because he was receiving some alarms of incoming missiles from the United States, but he decided to not retaliate for it. And it turned out that it was a computer error. And he felt it in his gut. He felt that that might be a false alarm. So he decided to not retaliate. And it's cool because had he retaliated, his missiles would have been legit. They would have been real. So the events that we're trying to discuss in this video about, you know, nuclear fallout and all that, that would be happening right now. So, but it isn't because someone was able to trust his instinct, and I don't even know what prompted him to be like, common sense dictates me that to not retaliate, but we just owe that guy our existence. Um, and compromised can mean anything from being coerced, which with the Russia talk is always possible, to just being too impulsive, which is the president in a nutshell. Yep. So I think it'll be alright. Yeah, the president only have about one third of power and mostly over the military. Really, I think he has dementia. He needs to get out of the office. I think we need to worry about aliens. Aliens. I haven't forgotten about that. Trump changed that we are not going to Mars. We are going back to the moon. Well, at the rate we're going, if we get bombed like that, we're going to go back to like the Flintstone era. Oh, at this point, I would welcome our new alien overlords. Well, guys, is it time for an alien video? I think it's time for an alien video. And that was actually going to be my next video, my next pending video. But because we really don't have that much to add to um, to this nuclear stuff, because as the star of this show, you guys can understand that I'm not necessarily like the savviest person when it comes to this topic, but you guys have made me aware of a few things, so this will only help me become hopefully a better version of myself. So yeah, alien video coming in a few seconds. Thanks for tuning in.